Well, for movie reviews, as ever, I'm joined by the one and only Andy Godfrey. Hello, Andy.
Good job there is only one, some people might say, Nathan. Yeah, it's great to be talking to you, and hello to everybody listening. We're
Yes,
talking movies.
yes, movie reviews once again, and fantastic to see you again. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. I've had a bit of a stomach ache today. Yesterday, I was on a part one of a new cookery course that I'm going on, so I don't know if there's a connection or not. We
Hmm.
cooked a stir fry, and for the first time ever in my life, I helped bake a cake, which I was very proud of because I've never done that before in my life. I've never baked in my life, but they had us making pineapple upside down cakes. But today I've been feeling a bit ropey, so if there's a connection or not, I doubt it, but some of my friends are telling me there might be.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Well,
No,
it's
I'm
good.
fine.
It's great to see you again. Really excited about movie reviews as ever. I understand there are a couple of new ones for
Yeah,
us to
we
hear
have an
about.
exclusive for you, Nathan, for
Hmm.
Pure. How about that? So we can really plug this one. So today I saw a film that is going to be on Netflix and Amazon Prime sometime over the next couple of weeks. And I want people to write down the title. I want people to make a note of where they can find it. And I want people to see it. And I want them to pass the message on. Okay. So this is a film that's called The Unbreakable Boy. And it is charming, it is funny, it is entertaining, and it's challenging. Basically, we have a lovely American family, lovely American couple. The problem is that mum has got brittle bone disease and dad's got autism. And when they have their first child together, what happens is the little boy who is born, it turns out, has got inherited both of his parents' problems. So he has brittle bone disease and he has autism. And this is a true story. This is the story of how this family having to cope with bringing up a child who not only has autism, which, as we know, can be really difficult to handle because people with autism are very fussy, they are very dogmatic, they are very, set in their ways. There's a scene where he moves the salt cellar on the table about an inch to the left because it's annoying him in the place that it's in. These people can be very fastidious, but he's also got brittle bone disease. And there's one scene where his younger brother and he are taken by dad to the swings, and they won't let him go on the swings in case he falls off. So he has to stand. It's a bit of a heartbreaking scene. He has to stand there and watch his dad and his brother on the swings, on which he's not allowed. But unfortunately, he runs round. He runs round behind the swing, and dad hits him with the swing on the backward swing, and he ends up in hospital. He also gets very, very bullied at school. And we see signs of him being dreadfully bullied. For a while, he's taken out of class and put into a special needs place. But then stuff happens. I don't want to spoil too much of the story. Stuff happens, and he ends up back at school. Honestly, it is a charming, lovely, engaging, involving film. Get a box of tissues ready when you watch it. It's got a Christian ethos because the family, we see them in church, and there's lots of talk about how God can help you in the situation that you're in if you put your trust in Him. However, with failing to cope with his guilt about hitting the boy on the swing, Dad actually turns to alcohol and becomes an alcoholic and ends up attending Alcoholic Anonymous meetings. Now, as I say, this is an absolutely true story. At the end of the film, we get photographs of the real family, the couple, and we get some information because this all happened 25 years ago, and we get information and updates on how they're doing today. But there's a young lad called Theo James who plays this little autistic boy and actually narrates the film. So the film is narrated by the 5-year-old boy who's got brittle bone disease and autism. And it's an absolutely remarkable, sorry, not Theo James, I do beg your pardon. I was looking at something else, but it's an absolutely remarkable performance by this child actor. Please, people, write the name of this film down, The Unbreakable Boy. It's going to be on Netflix, it's going to be on Amazon Prime. The film company are dead keen to get it promoted, get to people watching it. I'm dead keen for people to see it. I felt I learned a lot. I learned. I didn't know much about brittle bone disease. I know a little bit about autism, and I found it really compelling, really engaging. I laughed and I cried all the way through it, and that was just me watching it on my laptop. I'm here on my own, so Yeah, it's called The Unbreakable Boy. That's an exclusive review for Pure 247. I think this will be the first radio review of it in this country. But it's really worth seeing. And as I say, there is a Christian ethos to it because the family are believers in God. They go to church, but dad does turn to alcohol and becomes an alcoholic. And that is a real problem, obviously. And there is a split in the marriage for a while. But that's all I must stop because I'll give too much away. But I'm so enthusiastic about this film, and I really want people to see it. So 5 stars for me. The Unbreakable Boy. Worst thing, the film was delayed. It was originally it was shot about 4 years ago, and its release was delayed. I think COVID was a problem and other issues. But it's now being released straight to streaming services. And honestly, if you have to pay to rent it, do, because it's really worthwhile seeing. Very uplifting, very engaging film, and a film that makes you think about how we treat people who we might perceive as being different to us, you know, and reminds us actually that God loves everybody. You know, in God's sight, there's no fake. God doesn't have favorites. God loves us all equally, regardless of what we may think, or regardless of how we may have difficulties in handling people who are different to us or people with mental problems. I really, as you'll get the impression, but I really loved it. So do go and see that. And then another film that I saw this week, which is out in cinemas, that I really want to recommend. This one's a 15 certificate, but it's called I'm Still Here. We talked about this briefly last week. So this is a Brazilian film. It's in Brazilian with subtitles. And for me, it's the second best film of the year so far after September 5, which we talked about, the Munich tragedy. This is a film set in Brazil in 1970. And Brazil in 1970 was under a military dictatorship. And people were literally just being arrested and disappearing from the streets as they were taken in for questioning and torture. And this military dictatorship was leading a terrible regime that had Brazil in its grip. So we meet a family living in Rio. The husband used to be a congressman. He's now an engineer, stroke architect. They've got we meet this lovely, happy-go-lucky, lovely family. They're just living just off the beach in Rio de Janeiro. Everything's fine. But one day, some men arrive and arrest dad and drag him into prison because they say he's been in cohorts with terrorists, with people who are wanting to lead a rebellion against the military regime. Eventually, his wife is arrested as well, as is his older daughter. Those two are set free, but we never see dad again. And his wife eventually, once that regime collapsed in the sort of mid-70s, early 80s, the wife goes on to become an advocate for freedom of speech and an advocate for campaigning against what happened in Brazil and an advocate for justice. It's a very, very powerful film. It's over 2 hours long, which for some people with subtitles might be a bit too much, but it's very, very rewarding. Again, based on a true story. Again, at the end of the film, we see photographs and biographical details of what happened to the kids, what happened to mum. And it's, again, deeply moving, challenging film, emotionally draining film. It's one of those films, a bit like Schindler's List and films of that ilk, where you sit all the way through the end credits. Now, there was about 10 people in the screening I was at, but all 10 of us sat all the way through the end credits in silence. Nobody reached for their phone. Nobody chatted. It's just one of those films. And for me, it's powerful, it's emotional, it's educational. Again, showing you what happened in different parts of the world. And again, pointing out the evils of military dictatorship and of countries where it all goes wrong. So Brazil, I'm Still Here, it's called. It's a 15 certificate for no other reason than that the certificate actually says tense drama. I mean, because there are some scenes of people being tortured, but this really happened. Honestly, really worthwhile seeing. It's called I'm Still Here. And it is a film that really deserves to do big things, seriously. So go and see that. So those are one for home, one at the cinema, and absolutely a terrific film that really is worth seeing. Yeah. So
Awesome. Yeah.
Those are two wonderful. Those are two great recommendations.
Excellent. Yeah. So that sounds fantastic. Are they both based on true stories, are they?
Both based on absolutely true stories. And as I say, at the end of each film, you get biographical details about the people involved. You get photographs of the real people because obviously it's actors playing them in the film. It is in the films. One is this family drama about this little boy with autism and brittle. I mean, brittle bone disease is such a terrible thing. I think if you had it, you'd want to lock your child in a padded cell, really, because you know the slightest thing can cause a bone to break, the slightest knock, the slightest fall. And they discover that he's got this disease completely by accident when he tumbles down the stairs one day and breaks some ribs, and as a young boy, and then we discover he's got this disease. Um, and the Brazilian one, I'm Still Here, is a deeply moving political drama centered on an innocent family who suffered great tragedy but brought great good out of it through their fight for justice,
Mm.
and eventually saw justice prevail. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a strange thing, but the one of the most uplifting scenes in I'm Still Here is when the wife actually is able to obtain a death certificate for her husband, proving that he was tortured. And she actually's got a line in the film where she says, "I never thought I'd be happy seeing a death certificate, but here is proof that I needed of what happened to my
Mm.
husband." Very, very powerful, very moving. Yeah, go see both, folks.
Yeah, awesome. And it's quite interesting that that political one is based on a true story. There are quite a few political dramas which are perhaps based on conspiracies. But if you're saying that one is based on a very obviously well documented story, I can imagine
Yeah.
it would be a lot more powerful, a lot more
Oh, it is. I mean,
educational.
we'll talk about this more in a moment, but it's actually up for the Best International Film Award at the Oscars,
Wow.
along with several others, which we'll talk about. But it is yeah, I mean, these films based on true stories, you're never quite sure how much is being exaggerated,
Yeah.
how much is being changed. We're going to talk in a couple of weeks' time about a film called Bonhoeffer, which we have talked about before, but we'll mention it when it comes out. And I was talking to the director of that film. He was in
Mm,
Hollywood, I was here. And he was saying, sometimes when you're making a film based on a true story, for the sake of the length of the film, for the sake of dramatic tension, you do have to change certain things. I mean, in that film, there's a speech that the character gives in 1944 in the film. It was
mm.
actually a speech that was given in 1942, but for various reasons associated with the script, he had to change this. So yeah, but genuinely, I love true stories,
Yeah.
and particularly when there is a lesson to be learned. And I
Mm.
think the Unbreakable Boy, the lesson is just how we need to look after and care for those that we perceive as being different from ourselves. And with the I'm Still Here, just about the need to stand up for truth and justice and stand up against oppression. And both films are very powerful.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Andy. So a couple of good films that The Unbreakable Boy, available you say on Netflix and Amazon soon or
Very,
right
very
now.
soon. Very
Very now
soon.
soon.
Yeah.
Okay. And the other one is in cinemas at the moment.
Yeah, I'm Still Here.
Awesome.
Yes.
So, would you like to move on to, we planned this earlier on. Would you like to move on to, we're going to do essentially a little feature on the Oscars, the upcoming Oscars, and you were going to give
Yeah.
us your predictions for what you think will happen.
Well, it's Oscar night this coming Sunday. Now, I just need to clarify something here, Nathan. I've said this before there. I am not a big fan of award ceremonies. Okay. I am not a big fan. Number of reasons for that. One is, you know, if you take a science fiction film and a rom-com and a true story and a western or whatever, how can you put them all into one big pile and say which one's the best? The science fiction film's going to be the best science fiction. The western's going to be the best western. The rom-com's going to be the best rom-com. So I have a little bit of a problem with these award ceremonies. However, they exist. This is the 97th Oscars ceremony. The first one was in 1928. The very first film to ever win Best Picture was a film called Wings. I've got a copy of it. It is a World War One drama that is actually really, really good. I can see why they gave it the award. It's a terrific film. It's worth seeing. It's a silent movie, but it's really worth seeing. Yeah, so we got the Oscars. So let me just, say that in advance of what I'm going to say, because I don't think the Oscars ever get it right. And yeah, everybody's going to have a different opinion as to whether they do or not. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, the Oscars. I've got a couple of beefs with the Oscars. So, for example, my favourite director of all time is Alfred Hitchcock. Hitchcock made 52 films. I've got 51 of them. The 52nd film is Lost. It's a 1927 silent movie. I mentioned this in my book
Mm.
that hasn't been found. We've got a few grainy stills, and that's it. If anybody's got a copy of The Mountain Eagle, 1927 Alfred Hitchcock film, you are, believe me, sitting on £1 million+ if you can find it. They never gave Hitchcock an Oscar. They gave a film called Moonlight Best Picture the year that La La Land should have won it, in my opinion. But that's the thing; it's all about opinions. Um, People sometimes ask me who votes for the Oscars. Basically, actors vote for the Best Acting awards, engineers and technicians vote for the technical awards, and directors basically vote for the directorial awards and Best Film and so on. So, but you can't vote for your own film. A bit like Eurovision, you can't vote for the British song. So yeah, so shall we talk about the Oscars then? So first of all, shall we start with the big one? Now, the big one, there's one that I haven't seen. I'm hoping to see it next week, but that will be too late. So my predictions are going to be based on the fact that there is one film up for best film that I haven't seen. So let's just run through them. The best film. We've got a number. We've got 10, in fact. So we have Emil Perez, which is a Latin American musical drama set in the slums of Argentina, and a lawyer and criminal gangs and everybody bursting into song at inappropriate moments. So that's up for Best Picture. We have A Complete Unknown, which is the Bob Dylan story, which I loved. We have Conclave, which won the Best Picture at the BAFTAs last week, about the choosing of a new pope. We have Nickel Boys. We have the aforementioned I'm Still Here. We have The Substance, which is a body horror movie. We have Dune Part 2, which is a science fiction epic. We have Wicked, which is set in the land of Oz and about the Wicked Witch of the West and things going wrong in Oz. We have Anora, which is a 15 certificate romantic love story about a Russian from a crime family falling in love with a young American girl. And we have The Brutalist, which is a film about a Hungarian Jew arriving in America at the end of the Second World War and turning his hand to building magnificent buildings. So we've got everything. We've got musicals. We've got 2 musicals, Wicked and Emil Perez. We've got dramas. We've got a horror film. We've got a film about an architect. We've got a biopic in the Bob Dylan story, and we've got a film about choosing a pope. Now, here's my point: how can you say which one of those is better than the others? Because actually, there's some magnificent films in that list. The film I would like to win Best Picture, if I'm honest, is Wicked, because I loved Wicked, the musical about the land of Oz and things going wrong in Oz that have to be put right. And it's only part 1. I don't think it's going to win. I think I think it will obviously do better in America in some respects than here. Although people who love the stage show, people are going it's still on in cinemas. I would love Wicked to win. I don't think it's going to win. I really don't. I'm going to put my money, and I'm not a betting man. I'm going to put my money on the film that we've just been talking about, I'm Still Here. I think Conclave, possibly the film about the choosing the Pope, because it won at the BAFTAs. It's got a great performance. Last week at the Screen Actors Guild Awards, it won the Best Acting Awards. And so many award ceremonies. This is what we call award season. We've had the BAFTAs, we've had the we've had the Hollywood Writers Awards, and so on. And Conclave has done well. So if not I'm Still Here, I think Conclave will get it. Primarily a British film, but wouldn't it be nice to see a British film do really well at the Oscars? I go back in donkey's years to when Chariots of Fire won, and the producer stood on the Oscar stage and said, "The Brits are coming," So I would like to see Wicked win it. It won't. Conclave, possibly, but I think genuinely, if I had to put some money on it, and I'm not going to, I'm Still Here. This Brazilian political revolutionary drama will get it. And if Wicked doesn't win, I hope I'm Still Here does. But I'm never right on these things. So let's see. If we do a couple of the other major awards, Best Actress. So last week at the Screen Actors Guild Award, Demi Moore, who's been around forever. I mean, as long as I've been watching films, I can remember Demi Moore being around. She finally got an award for Best Actress, and she's up for Best Actress in The Substance. The Substance is this sort of body horror film. It's a psychological drama. It's about a woman who is getting old, an aging actress played by Demi Moore, and she is kicked off a TV show that she hosts because she's told she's too old now. She doesn't look young and glamorous anymore. She's got too old. And rather mysteriously, somebody offers her a vial of substance, which when she injects it into herself, a younger version of her crawls out of her back. Honestly, it's quite visceral, okay? But so we now have two. We have a younger version of herself and the older version. And the younger version has to crawl back into herself after a week of being out. So this is really weird stuff. It's a gripping film. I think Demi Moore will probably win that. I think the American Academy will say, look, she's been around all this time. We don't know how much longer, hopefully for years to come, she's going to act in awards, but I think they will take pity on her and give her the award. So I'm going for Demi Moore for The Substance as Best Actress. So we'll make a note of that and see how we get on next week. And then we got Best Actor. This is a tricky one. Ralph Fiennes, I would love to see win for Conclave. British actor. He plays the bishop who's overseeing the election of a new pope and ends up becoming a bit of a detective as he finds out that some of the candidates for pope have got secrets. I'd like to see Ralph Fiennes win it. I don't think he will. I think the same person who won the BAFTA, Adrian Brody, will win it for his role in The Brutalist, where he plays this Hungarian Jewish guy who's escaped the Holocaust, ended up in America. It's a 3.5 hour long film with a 15-minute intermission. I think he will win it. It's a very, very good performance. It's a convincing performance. It's a great film. Not amongst my favorites, but a really good film. Timothée Chalamet possibly outside for playing Bob Dylan so well. We'll see, But I'm going for the acting awards. I'm going for Demi Moore for The Substance, and I'm going for Adrian Brody for The Brutalist. And then just a couple more, shall we do? So let's just do Best International Feature. Well, I've already said that I'm Still Here, the Brazilian film, is my favourite. However, there is a film up for Best International Feature called The Seed of the Sacred Fig. Now, I haven't seen this, but a friend of mine has. And this is a film that was shot in Iran illegally. So it's a film about the brutality of the Iranian government towards groups and individuals of other religions and other persuasions and, gays and everybody else. It's a film about that subject. They filmed it in Iran and they had to actually smuggle the film out of the country to get it shown in cinemas here. And the director has talked about what a dangerous place he put himself in, actually making this film, and the cast and crew. So I think that will win. So I'm making a note of The Seed of the Sacred Fig, which I haven't seen. I hope to see it before next week, so we can talk about it next week. So that would be good. We'll just do one other, I think, shall we? Best Animated Feature. So Best Animated Feature. We've talked about some of these on the show. Again, I haven't seen all of them, but we talked, for example, about Inside Out 2, which was a follow-on, obviously, from Inside Out that I enjoyed. We talked about The Wild Robot, which made my top 10 last year. However, the film that I would love to see win Best Animated Feature, and people might be able to guess, I'm going for Wallace and Gromit. I'm going for Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. I don't know. I think the Americans are often inclined to go for an American-produced film because Wallace and Gromit won at the British Oscars, it won at the BAFTAs for Best Animated Film. The Americans will probably, I think, go for The Wild Robot. I'm putting my money on that. So there you go. Those are, there's so many other categories. Best documentary feature, best director. I think maybe we should just do best director and then leave it at that.
Yeah.
Best director. Unfortunately, the director of Wicked is not up for this. He hasn't been nominated, which I puzzled. How can a film be nominated for Best Picture but not be nominated for Best Director? To me, it makes no sense whatsoever and sums up what's wrong with the whole process. However, Best Director, I think, will go to Brady Colbert for The Brutalist. 3.5 hours long, but I think The Brutalist will win Best Director. I'm always particularly interested in what wins Best Score because, as I think you know, I collect film soundtrack albums, and my film soundtrack album collection stands at over 500 at the moment. I don't know. I mean, I think perhaps Amelia Perez or Wicked will win best soundtrack. One of those two, because they're both musicals, and so therefore it would make sense to nominate them. Conclave's got a great score, but I'm going for Wicked for best score and best original song as well. So next week, we will see how wrong I've been
Awesome.
in my
Well,
predictions.
yeah, okay. So those are a few of the major awards, I suspect, and we'll see which
Yeah,
ones do appear. You've got a few that you'd like to see win,
yeah,
and some that you
but they never
expect
do.
will win.
I mean, La La Land is in my top 5 films of all time, and it didn't get Best Picture. But again, it got Best Director. I don't understand that at all. Some of the Alfred Hitchcock films are massive. Obviously, I'm a massive Alfred Hitchcock fan, and he never won Best Director. So you just can't tell, you know. I mean, in 1989, they gave the Best Picture Oscar to a film called Driving Miss Daisy, which was terrible. It was boring. It was slow. There were so many better films, including Who Framed Roger Rabbit, in 1989 that I thought should have won it. But you just never can tell. And that's one reason why I'm glad I'm not a betting man, because I think I'd probably lose a fortune on this. They are so unpredictable, these award ceremonies, that, as I say, you just don't know what they're going to go for. Americans tend to favour American films. The British tend to favour British films, which is why I was glad to see Wallace and Gromit and Conclave win at the Brits. But I think American films probably will pick up the. I mean, The Brutalist is a British film, really. It might win. So yeah, we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see, and it's going to be interesting. I mean, quite honestly, Nathan, on Oscar night, I once heard my friend Mark Kermode, who's the country's leading film critic. He's with me on this. He doesn't really like award ceremonies, and one year he just tweeted on Oscar night, "Wake me up when it's over," and I go to bed and I just wake me up. I don't need to stay up all night watching the ceremony. I'm quite happy to go to bed, wake up in the morning, find out who won, find out how wrong I was, congratulate the winners, and move on. Because the one thing that is good about the Oscars, films that win tend to get re-released in cinemas. So expect to see in cinemas next week films, the major winners being shown. And that's good for cinema. That's good for box office, because we know cinemas financially at the moment, a lot of them are struggling. Cineworld is struggling and others. I mean, I saw this great film, I'm Still Here, this Brazilian film. As I said, there were 10 people in the audience with me. So we do need to see box office going up. We need to see more people heading back to the cinemas. So one good thing that comes out of these award ceremonies is that films get reshown again on the big screen,
Mm.
and do look out for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and as I say, keep an eye open for the two films we reviewed. Well, I'm Still Here and The Unbreakable Boy, which are both fantastic.
Awesome. Well, that's fantastic. I never knew that films were re-released after the Oscars and these award ceremonies. That's really interesting, but
Yeah,
that is
because
good.
they kind of figure people are going to want to see them.
Yeah.
They kind of figure that if you didn't see them first time around, now that they've won awards, people may want to go and see them. So, I never saw the Brutalist. So it's won Best Picture. I better go and see it, see what all the fuss is about. So they do this, and it does give some of the major winners a new lease of life. But I mean, there's a whole load of awards we haven't mentioned. I mean, makeup, costume, sound design, short animated, best documentary feature, best short documentary feature. Yeah, the ceremony goes on. What you see on TV are really only the highlights. I mean, the ceremony goes on from about, 4 o'clock in the afternoon where they present some of the technical awards all the way through till 10 o'clock, when the final award of the night is announced, which
Wow.
is always Best Picture. Um, and just as a little side note to that, an Oscar winner who we've lost this week is Gene Hackman. And I just want to say to people, I love Gene Hackman films. He was a great actor. The French Connection, The Conversation, Bonnie and Clyde. But if you're looking for a film to sit down and watch with a couple of films to sit down and watch with the family this weekend, widely available, of course, Superman and Superman 2. Superman the movie, should say, and Superman 2, in which Gene Hackman played Lex Luthor, Superman's arch enemy. He was fantastic in those films, absolutely fantastic. Christopher Reeves, who played Superman, it was his first acting roles. He was absolutely brilliant, made to play Superman until he had that dreadful accident that resulted in him being paralyzed. He fell off a horse. So you might want to go back, and I think tonight I'm probably going to watch a Gene Hackman film. I might go back and look at The French Connection, 1972. French Connection has got one of the best car chases in cinema history. Absolutely fantastic car chase. Rivals the one in a film that Steve McQueen made called Bullet. They're often compared as the best car chases of all time. And these are 70s films. We've had so many car chases since, obviously in films. Every action film you get a car chase. Tom Cruise was chasing cars through Rome in the last Mission Impossible film, and
Yeah.
last Fast and Furious film there was also a car chase in Rome, and the last John Wick film there was a car chase around the Arc de Triomphe. If you've ever been to Paris, the Arc de Triomphe is in the middle of a roundabout, which is about 6 lanes.
Yeah.
And I stood there and thought, I'm glad I'm not driving around this when I was there. But what they do in John Wick is they show a car chase with cars going the wrong way round, dodging traffic. It's a fantastic sequence. But the French Connection's got a great car chase. So, it's a very sad loss to lose Gene Hackman. He was 97. He was an
Yeah.
Oscar winner. But for families this weekend, why not sit down and watch, Superman the movie and Superman 2?
Yeah.
Superman 2 is fantastic.
Yeah, that would be good, and in honor of a legend of the film industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there
Well,
we are. So next week we'll talk about the winners.
yeah, we'll find out what happened next week. Thank you so much, Andy, for bringing us the latest in the world of cinema. I look forward to speaking again soon.
We will do, Nathan. God bless you, and God bless everybody listening.
Pure Media, the magazine, is hand perfected with some of the finest writers from around the world that we could find. And yes, Andy B too. New editions are released just for you on the first Friday of every month, from our family to your family. Pure Media, the magazine, is available now. Sign up for free at puremediafamily.com/magazine.